Good evening to the brave who dare to come to this event. And this is the first event what we organize with the help of the EEA grant and the Visegrad Plus funding, because it's an international Visegrad fund. Today we are going to have full of, the agenda is full. We will start with the deputy director. You know, this is only for reading, so I cannot look up. We will have Marianna Neupauerová, deputy director of the International Visegrad Fund. She will call in from Slovakia. Then we will have a roundtable that is going to be moderated by Renata Jaksa from Women Business Angel Association. And then this is about how to involve more women. And she will introduce the participants. The next panel will be moderated by Beatrix Bedő, who is the co-founder of Impact Hub Budapest. Then we asked Teresa Hitchings to get your input. So what you remember from today's event. And then we will have a closing speech from Janina Lamøy. She is representing Innovation Norway. And at the end, I will ask Mrs. Norwegian Ambassador to invite you to a reception. My name is Eszter Szabó, and I am the founding president of Women Business Angels. So that's today's program. And what is, what is Women Business Angels that is produced today's event? There are some people who don't know what startup means, and funding a startup that has an idea, starts to have activities, but don't have income yet. So revenues. So this is the Death Valley, and this is where people who have money and who have understanding of the global market can come in and can help startups, funders. So this is where the play where we invite people. It's dangerous, but it's also very challenging because you work with somebody or a team that wants to pull together something that is new and that is interesting for the global market. This is normally the way people talk about women. So how to to do the scaling and have somehow a balance. So it's the narrative right now is about a scale. What we brought here and what we are talking about, this is also very important. It is also very important. So how to involve both more men and more women into that Death Valley, what I mentioned, because yes, it's dangerous, but if it works out well, you help the founder very well, then it can be very, very fast scaling. We are looking for big partners. We have the Norwegian embassy as one of the partners, and also with Krinica Economic Forum, that's the most important Davos-like forum in Central Eastern Europe. So we have a partner, and this is the program what I shared with you at the beginning. So I would like to ask Marianna from Slovakia if she has already joined the crowd. Then then we can start with Marianna from Visegrad Fund. Thank you.
Good afternoon to Budapest. from Bratislava. I hope you can hear me well. I guess so. All right, so good afternoon. Thank you, Madam President, for inviting us. Thank you for, as you know, at the fund, we like supporting nice projects. That's what we do, that's our mission. So it's a true pleasure to have the opportunity to support you, your efforts. And I'm very happy to see that there is another funding coming from Norwegian Fund. So again, thank you also to our Nordic countries partners for the support. Let me start or open this session by a very nice saying I like very much. It was said once by Eleanor Roosevelt. I'm sure this name is very familiar to all of us women, but I think to all people in the world who at once heard something about human rights. She said actually that a woman is like a tea bag. You will never know how strong she is until she is put into hot water. I guess with all the business angels and female business angels that are probably sitting there in Budapest and elsewhere, they had their crisis, they had their hard times, but they have a mission and they got tested and they succeeded. So I hope this conference will also create new ideas and will help to create a vision for this region to be able to better support female entrepreneurs and not only female entrepreneurs, but also business as such by dedicated females. The big question, why should this happen? Why is actually the female or women so important is simply numbers. Because we are talking about more than a half of the world population, and it goes to the very same, basically in all the countries all around the world, that female power, it's a working force, it's a large amount of population, it's a big economic power, so it should be fully integrated and fully equal in all senses, also in the working environment and in the markets. I was chasing for some statistics to see actually how it looks with business angels, female business angels in the world. And actually, it proves the importance of this conference today, because I found some statistics saying that only some 11% of all angels in Europe are female, with some 20% it is in Nordic countries. So there's a lot to learn. It's some 30% in the US that are female business angels. And in the Central and Eastern Europe, that's taken more broadly than just before. There's some 15%. So still a long way to go in case we want to support also this sector. So I mentioned a few economic reasons why this should be supported and why is it important. It's also very important from the sustainability point of view, from my perspective, from the perspective of the fund as such, because actually all the statistics, all the big international organizations say in their data that with the pandemics, but not only pandemics, with all the other planetary changes that are taking place, all those changes are disempowering the groups that are already vulnerable, meaning not only socially disadvantaged groups in the strictest sense, but also women, which are usually taken as vulnerable group. So if this sector was weak, it will get only weaker, and without active support to this, we will not succeed. And again, we would be back in economic terms in a better, in a worse shape of in our economies. Another economic reason to that is, and now speaking strictly about the Visegrad region, is that we have had a decade or 2 decades at least of very strong economic growth. Now we are at the point where the labor cost advantages we're losing. We're also losing the so far advantage of having a strong traditional industries. We lost the momentum, and now we have to be more innovative, and we have to look for new ways how to support our economies. So again, there are some further statistics or further estimates by this time by McKinsey saying that in case we would be able to use also the female power, the women of this region, we would actually reach an increase of by 8.3% by 2030. I think those numbers are quite impressive, and I will wish you a very successful conference. But let me also say with a bit of smile that at the fund, we also feel like a bit, at least a bit like those angels, also sometimes as a business angels, because I'm not sure how familiar we are with the fund, but we are here for some 20 years. It's 21st year of our existence. We have invested so far more than 100 million euros into the region and also outside of Visegrad in the region of Eastern Partnership and Western Balkans. And at some points, it was also very, we had some very nice projects dealing exactly with the topics that you are dealing with right now. For instance, we were having some summer schools dedicated just to girls. We had a project dedicated to young business women leaders, also in the outside of Visegrad region. We have been supporting the conference traditionally taking place in Budapest on women, families and careers, or the traditional STEM academies dedicated again exclusively to girls. Again, let me add one nice number, and that is that more than 80% of our staff is female, and that again proves there are still those traditional roles, because we are dealing with soft issues with grant management system, and that's usually very often taken by females. So as much as there are some traditions, I really hope that you will manage to find this or to formulate this new vision for our region that, yes, we have to value our traditions, but again, we have to be innovative enough and creative enough to support also some new ideas. I will stop here, wishing you a nice conference, and I will stop again by saying something that you might have heard again, but it's my second most favorite saying. And that is by Madeleine Albright, who said that there's a special place in hell for women who do not support other women. So I wish very good luck to all female business leaders and business angels who are supporting startups, who are supporting other businesses, not exclusively female businesses, but also female businesses. Thank you very much and good luck.
We would like to thank her for her participation, and as you know, this is a hybrid event, so we are going to be on and off, online and offline as we go along. Now I would like to ask the participants of the next panel to come up, Beatrix Bedő and Eszter Szabó to sit right next to me, and we are going to have Irene Marta joining us online. All right, it's working? Yeah. Okay, so thank you for being here at the first panel that we have regarding the potential options to support female participation in innovation decision making. Let that decision be about starting an innovative startup or running an innovative enterprise or investing into an innovative business. We would like to have a very proactive panel here in which we can come up with explicit suggestions about how to improve the current situation. And we would like to welcome suggestions from the business side, from the policy side, from the civil side, wherever those suggestions come from. Unfortunately, Mr. Szabó is not joining us. He had to cancel very, very last minute his presentation, his participation in this panel. But I do hope that we still will have a fruitful discussion. So as a first step, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself in a very short way, why you think your participation is relevant to the topic. So Eszter, I start with you, but we already know who you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, but then we will go back to you because you also have to introduce yourself.
Just use this.
Hi, my name is Eszter Szabó, as I said before, and I am the founder of Women Business Angels. And what led to me to this is that I realized many decades ago, while working for a big American company, that this region needs capital. And we didn't learn how capital is accumulated in this post-communist region. And we have to have somebody who talks about it. And I really talked about, and I made stakeholders talk about Central Eastern Europe, and that brought $2 billion and 5,000 jobs to Central Eastern Europe in that multinational company. And now what we are working on is that how to talk with stakeholders about the need for more angel investors, among them women. And the second is that if somebody gets interested, what is the way, what is the training that you can get there? Apart from that, I am an economist.
Hello. It works? Yes? Okay. Hello, my name is Beatrix Better, and I'm the co-founder of Impact Hub Budapest. And before I answer your question, let me just tell you just a little bit about, 2 sentences about Impact Hub, because this is a global network, and as a co-working, why we differentiate from other is that there are 102 co-working offices in the world. 47 in Europe. Although due to COVID numbers fell, but also we had more opening. And as a co-working, we say that Impact Hub Budapest provides a home for a diverse community and supports positive social change. So what means diverse community? It means that there are not just male startuppers, but of course women entrepreneurs. And we would like to see more women entrepreneurs and innovate women entrepreneurs working together, of course, with the other gender as well. And also, as women business angels, it is important to have more and more. What differentiates us, women, and sometimes I think that we emphasize it, but I also experience it. We are both angel investors with Eszter in Hunban, the Hungarian Business Angels Network. And I do believe that women has got more empathy and more commitment to projects. We don't leave besides because it's not, the numbers are not working out, or the break even and the death valley last for a little bit longer than it should. Or if there's up and downs in the life cycle, the early stage life cycle. And that's when I do believe that the angels should be there, and even women. So that's what I just wanted to comment. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Now I hope that we face no technological challenges when I ask Irene to come and join the discussion and introduce herself and her connection to the field.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Perfect.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm still coughing a bit, so sorry for that if it will appear again. So I'm representing today 110 companies as the head of the for sustainable development in Hungary. 110 companies who do believe that acting in a more sustainable way might result as a competitive advantages for them, their companies. And it's not only about environmental responsibility, but including social responsibility as well, combined with a good governance. And how the women issue comes here, that let me quote on one of the latest research of KPMG, for example, on how women consider themselves, what are their strengths. And I do quote it now because it's very much in line what it was said before. So I think around 700 women all around the world were asked, and they agreed on that, that women are more flexible, more empathic, and more insightful. And I think that these three skills play a crucial role in innovation. And it plays a crucial role in time of pandemic as well.
Well, thank you so much, and especially I appreciate the attempt to find some numbers, because as an economist, it's also a bothering fact for me that we are lacking facts so much in this domain in terms of women's participation in innovation decision making. So my next question is going to be rather tough, because I would like to know your opinion about the current state of the role of women in innovation in Hungary, and whether this is we are on a special track. Are there any special features, or it's more like a similar track to other Central and Eastern European countries? So what is your diagnosis of the current situation in this domain?
Beata mentioned HUMBAN, so a Hungarian Business Angels Network. So I was the first woman who signed up for that network, and they have a mailing list of 150. So it's you consider that a lot or not. It's up to you. We really don't know how many members they have in Prague, for example. And also they have a different system. So we had a discussion with the president of HUMBAN, and he said, Eszter, how can we have more women? So today, I think we are 2 women with Beatrix on the mailing list, and I don't consider that a fast pace. So I think number one is you have to have an organization or a person who really talks about, about the phenomena. And I said this is a high risk and high reward area of investment. So it's not saving. So it's not, you don't go to the bank and you put your saving on your saving account and somebody does something with it. And every year, you can say, okay, so I got like 2% plus minus inflation. So this is an investment. So you make the investment. So it's not on your behalf. Somebody makes the investment decision, but you make the investment decision. But I have seen in this region is that we really share a lot. We have the same challenges, but there are strong players who really pull people together. And I can give you an example, a very good example, and this is why Central Europe is high on the statistics, what Marianna was talking about, 15%. So it's pretty high, it's higher than in Europe. Is that there are 2 women in Poland, and Poland falls into Central Eastern Europe. There are 2 women who started a Black Swan Foundation, and they have like 400 members. All of them are women, excluding men. And they support not just startups, but they also support other companies. So one of the most famous startups or companies that they have to start is a teddy bear, and the teddy bear gives white noises when you push the button, and this has become an international global hit. Can you imagine? So it's not innovative at all, but somebody was sitting at home and said, well, I cannot keep my kids quiet, so maybe this will help.
Right. Bea, what are your insights?
I do believe in small steps make a longer road. So this is the start. I mean, Eszter, you started 2.5 years ago, because I was there as well. And of course, we reach out to women and executives and really women who do care about the future and have funds to actually be angel investors. But little steps, I do believe. It's great that we have a community, those people already, and then we can have larger communities. I see good examples at other impact hubs. And also what I wanted to mention is that, for example, I myself have invested in my own projects, but also somehow, and probably this is just because that I'm a woman, I would like to support another woman's entrepreneurship, yes? And in Budapest, for example, in Hungary, it's very much centralized. So we have different programs in Budapest for women. We know High Ventures Her and other programs that are especially focusing on women. But what I miss very much is the rural areas, is the cities and villages where there are, of course, women who are mothers as well, but they do have, they all want to solve a problem. And then by solving the problem, they all, or there are those who actually set up entrepreneurship and being entrepreneurs. And once they solve the problems, they want to solve other women's problems as well. And then they form a community. And this is essential, I think. We have some partners in Debrecen, in Szeged, in Kecskemét, in Győr, where we have partners who are also inviting women into their programs. So I think as soon as we have more entrepreneurs, more women to be funded, and then we can show the case studies. And also we shouldn't forget that, of course, we would like to fund scaling projects. And that's the other thing, that some women think that, okay, I do a consultancy business. A consultancy business would never get a funding, doing on her own and doing on her own. But we expect scaling because we want to expand the project and the business, and to give, of course, and provide more employment, more people involved in the business, and then scaling. So we expect this. But I think that due to the very centralized Budapest, but we need to go, and we are reaching out to women in the countryside. I don't know whether I should talk about our program, but we have an academy for women entrepreneurs where Budapest is excluding. So we only women could apply from the countryside. 30 people, 30 women, we are working together for this year, for example. So I need more women, more cases, more innovative and scale, and then we probably wish to have more women angels included.
Well, thank you so much. Irene, it's your turn. I would like to ask your perspective on the current state of the art regarding female participation in innovative activities.
So I have checked several data. Maybe I can share some of them, and I'm a bit hesitant, but maybe I can start with the best one. It's about the that the European representation of Hungary is made by almost more than 40% by women. And with that, we are above the European average, because this is 40%. If we come back to Hungary and we check that how many women is in the Hungarian government, then we will learn that it's at the parliament, there are only 13%. And if we check that how many Hungarian companies are led or owned by women, that's only 1% more, it's 14%. So these are very interesting data, and although these are not high, but these are developing, because just several years ago it was only 10% with regard of the companies. So what can we do? I do agree with you that it's very important to share best practices and to share personal examples, but it's also very important to acknowledge the achievements. And that's why we established a few years ago in 2017 for Sustainable Future Awards. And there are 4 categories to get this award. And one of these is the women leader. And since then, we have awarded 14 women in Hungary. These women are not CEOs, but they are just in a very high position, might become CEO in the close future. And I think it's also important. And you know, when I meet a man who is leading a company, and I ask, do you know someone in your company who could nominate to this award? And the first answer used to be that, no, there is no one. And then after a few minutes, I say that maybe there is one woman I can nominate for this. And I think that with that, we can help these women inside the company and also outside of the company to achieve their goals and to be more visible and to become more successful. But that's just the first step, to acknowledge them. The second step should be, how can they share their personal stories, their solutions, how to overcome the challenges. And that's why we invite them to the alumni events. We have the Future Leaders program. This is a awareness raising program for both men and women, young leaders. And then we ask these women leaders to share their stories, share their best practices. And you might know that there are very successful mentor programs in Hungary, for example, led by the Hungarian Business Leaders Forum, that has a long history and very good results. And we also have the Women Entrepreneurship Days. On the occasion, there is every year a conference organized by Kata Keveházi, who is among the audience today, as far as I learned. So there are several good examples and initiatives. What we are now thinking about, we might launch a program, awareness raising training program for women leaders, because that's what the World Business Council, our mother organization, has initiated 2 years ago. And I think that it would also have a very important role to develop women leaders and develop their financial knowledge and skills. And we could combine it. We can invite the women business angels to support them. And that's why we are going to have a meeting with our board soon, just a few weeks' time, to learn how we can support each other.
Well, thank you so much. Already you have shared with us so many great thoughts and suggestions that I'm worried my next question is like out of ammunition now. Because the next question would be like, what are those steps to be taken in the future in order to support more women to take a role in innovation? We have already heard so many suggestions from training, awareness raising, but if you could be a bit helpful in terms of trying to identify steps that we think that the policy stakeholders should take from the, let's say, governmental, from the international, from the business side, from the government, from the NGO aspects. So how the different stakeholders can support some improving trends in this aspect. We have listed several suggestions so far, but let's find some further elements that we can use in order to come up with recommendations on the national level as well, but on the international level, I think it's also important to have some suggestions about.
I don't know whether I answer your questions, but first of all, you have to tidy up your country. So that's really very important. There is a law in Hungary supporting angel investment, but it talks about company. So you can deduct your tax if you are a company and you support a startup. So we need to extend that to individuals who really invest in startups. So number one, tidy up your own country, and then learn from each other. So and have role models and have best practices from other countries, and build strong. I cannot find the word for lasting relationship. So I really envy Bea, who is part of a global community, and they meet every year, and that's very important. So somehow we have to fill in that gap in Central Eastern Europe. Right now, the narrative really is around investment. So they say that, okay, this VC invested this amount of money, and that makes that company valuable. So I support this initiative. If you sit next to me, mutasd this magazine, and this is now in Hungarian, but some of the articles are in English. So this is about growth, and we should have more on a regional basis, connect the region. It's about knowledge. I support a guy who started the Central Eastern European startup storytelling. It's online, so it's not a magazine, and it's also something very good because people can go there and can find. So connecting the region. As I said, we have to learn how to invest, and we have to learn how to connect and how to learn from each other and show role models.
Yeah.
Yes, learning from each other is very, very essential, also from other countries. So that's what the network gives. That, and I'm responsible for what I say, but comparing us to Amsterdam or even just to Berlin, I know exactly how far or how ahead of they are regarding, for example, women programs or even women business angels. So we are a little bit back, but in this Central Eastern Europe territory, in this region, it was always like that. But I do believe that if we have these best cases and we get them from the neighboring countries as well as from the region, then of course we can benefit from. But I do believe in the community and the networking. So it is really important. Even we women, and I feel this with our women entrepreneurs, that if there is a successful women entrepreneur who already could start a business and living, just imagine in a village in Őrbottyán, which is like 7,000 population, and already getting, like, it's not gossiping, of course, but people get to know her, you know, people get to know her that, oh, she's employing another, looking for another person to be employed. She's growing. She's opening another bakery and patisserie shop in 3 months. And then how did you do that? And from that region, for example, just that we started working with this entrepreneur in April, we already got applications for next year's training. So this is also the same with the women entrepreneurs. And if we also promote and publish our stories, I think, and this is important, the communication and communicating the best cases. And if we learn about this, I do believe that it has got a power to attract other women business angels, other business angels as well, and also to grow the number of entrepreneurs. Sometimes they said that there are more investors than entrepreneurs where you can invest in. Yes, so there are more hunters in the sector than actual projects or companies that can be invested. And I need to, that's why I'm always talking about the entrepreneurial side and the investor side. So the investee and the investor is both needed in order to set the fund. And one more last thing about that, also at a very early stage, even when a project starts and a women entrepreneur starts the business, you might need a little loan, which is like a low interest, but also like a financial institution. You might not find the first fund from an angel investor. You might find it. I'm talking about a couple of millions, so 1, 2, 3, 4, max 5. And I see good examples now at Eszter Bank. There's an easy guarantee loan at UniCredit Bank. They are also a 5 million loan for the very first, and they are really like slow return, and also as the interest rise, it's very beneficial. So there are opportunities, but these opportunities need to be communicated as well as work together. So I work together with both banks. So it's also important. So I would involve not only investors and not only thinking about angel investors, but other financial institutions.
Well, thank you, Bill. That was really a new perspective to take into account, so that it's not just angel investors, but other walks of the business sphere as well to cooperate in order to achieve the success that we want. Irene, would you like to share with us your thoughts on recommendations, steps to be taken forward?
I have already shared most of them, but my first thought was that do we really know that what are the barriers? And I think that we would need a good gap analysis, and we would need a lot of information and data on the actual status, because I think that's the best methodology to find out what are the real gaps, and then make an action plan how we can solve this. We can bridge these gaps together. Because I do believe in partnership, as you very rightly mentioned, that we have to collaborate on this to achieve the result. So I think that would be very important. And if you have any intention to participate in such kind of research, then just contact me, and then we can find out how we can do it the best.
Thank you so much. I would like to tell you that Dr. Eszter Szabó was going to participate in this meeting. So in fact, he was participating in the preparatory meeting for this meeting. And he shared a lot of his ideas about the topic that we discuss here. And I think I'm not completely out of line if I mention the things that he thought important. He's of course, his position itself, coming from the National Office of Research, Development and Innovation, puts him into a position where the importance of R&D is a bit more highlighted than the mere wide interpretation of innovation that we talk about here. But I have to tell you that I am very glad that the understanding of innovation here in the business sphere is wide enough to include all of those products and services that are simply at a good place, at a good time, and not only those that are very coming from a very highly academic background. Having said that, I think it's still very important, and we don't talk about it enough, that the general education of girls, not only women, but girls themselves, should be done in a way that it helps them to find their footing in innovative domains, and helps them to find themselves in jobs and places where R&D and innovation is business as usual. So I think that we are missing out on Mr. Eszter Szabó's positions, because he has a list of actions that were planned and are currently carried out in order to present female researchers with various awards, with various grant opportunities, so that they can be better equipped in the men's world in terms of financial support and opportunity as well. So I think this would also be the proper occasion for me to thank the support of our donors for this occasion, because I have mentioned already the importance of the level of international cooperation, and both all of you have talked about it as well. So both in case of the International Visegrad Fund and also in case of the EEA and Norway grants, we have to be thankful that they do find this topic crucially important in order to help us with both organizing events like this, but also to take part in the projects that develop so much more than just conferences. We are working on surveys, questionnaires, training materials, etc., in order to help both women who are doing innovative enterprises and also those who are investing into it. So I think that we are coming closer to the final questions in this panel, and I think I would like to ask if you have any reflection on each other's thoughts, of course, and if there are anything that you deem to be important and we haven't talked yet about. Please, Eszter, what do you think of the suggestions heard so far?
In an ideal world, women organizations or organizations supporting women would work closer with each other. So I was really happy to listen to Irene Marta mentioning different organizations. I think it's very important that locally we worked stronger together, and also internationally. So you will have another panel, we will have another panel, and we will have a Norwegian angel investor who is very enthusiastic, and she's a real role model. So, more of these, more of how you made your first investment, how you started this group, more not project driven, but strategy driven, bigger thoughts. And you mentioned that women are different, and yes, they are different, or we are a little bit different because of our the sociology. But we also have to think big and think about not just Hungary, but think about Central Eastern Europe, for example, in the world.
Yes, I know that it might be boring, but I still do believe in the community. I said it, but I think that we can empower women, because we shouldn't forget that women have a lot of roles. We are mothers, we are wives, and we are co-founders or founders of a project if we are an entrepreneur. And this is the second event, because as it was mentioned before by Marta, on Friday we had the International Women's Day, Entrepreneurs Day, with Kata Keveházi, and I was in 2 panels as well. And if you were there, you met a lot of people who were all acting for women. So for women entrepreneurs and all those entities. And I do think that if we strengthen the belief that they can do it, because I'd also meet some people, and of course women, who say that they are not sure about whether they should start it. They've got a lot of staff, multifunctional, and they miss their self-confidence. Okay, so we need to boost them in a way. We need to encourage them, and this is another thing that we need to work on: the self-esteem of women, to think that they can do it, and if they believe it, and they are about, and they have decided, then you cannot stop them. And I do believe in this. So the first step, and if they are in a community, I honestly see the strengths of other women strengthen the others' self-esteem. They do believe and start to believe in themselves. And then if they believe, then they can, of course, sell their services and sell their projects either to a financial institutions or to an investor or to an angel investor. And then it's easier to sell, I think, to women angel investor. But there are still, I have a lot of cases when there are women founders and investors, male investors, so not women investors. Yes, angel investors. This is it.
Thank you. Irina, I would like to ask if you have any closing thoughts on these issues in this panel. What are your reflections on what's been said so far?
Thank you so much. I already mentioned the Future Leaders program we are leading now. I think this is the 9th year we have announced it, and we dedicate 1 day for human values. And this Human Values Day covers several issues, but diversity is in the focus. And the focus of the diversity is how to support women to become leaders. And why do I mention it? Because this program is not for women. It's for young, talented leaders. So I want to draw your attention that we need men to have successful women. And I think that's also a very important angle, that we have to raise the awareness of the men, and we have to count on their support, and we have to learn from them, and we have to understand each other in order to achieve our goals.
So much. That was such a great line. Yeah, we do have to have men in order to have successful women. Thank you. Well, I put down several notes, several lines of notes. I will have to figure out everything afterwards, who said what. But we are going to prepare a report partly based upon this panel, but also based upon other research that we've been conducting. And I would like to ask you that you have received, those who are here in person, have received a questionnaire on the role of business angels. If you have the time and if you would be so kind to have some answers for us, then we could incorporate those into our report as well. Due to the technical constraints on this event, that it's a hybrid event with live participants and online participants as well, we don't have a proper classic question and answers block after the end of the panel. Rather, we are going to have, after the second panel, a short thing here that collects the key takeaways from both of the panels. So I would like to ask you to keep your issues and keep your brain working about what is the most important thing or what are the most important things that you hear here today. And we are going to use those inputs in order to come up with the key takeaways, key takeaway messages. And also we are building an online community. We have also started to work on meetup.com, and also we are trying to use the social media as well in order to build a community. So please let us know your reflections, your thoughts, whether you are online or offline. Keep up with us, come with us, and we can have an ongoing discussion on these topics after this event as well. So I would like to close the first panel at this point, and I think that the next one is going to be a better, like a more online event with Bea, who is going to host the thing from here, but all the other participants will join us from online. So I hope we won't have any main technical difficulties, but please allow for a couple of minutes adjustments in terms of starting the next panel. Thank you.
And also there is, refreshment available outside.
Yes, thank you so much.
A szomszéd az
Kezdjük akkor. Jó. Kezdhetjük? So let's continue, and let me invite the second panel speakers. We are going to have the topic of innovation in many colors, and we will listen and talk about innovation support case studies with the support of our project, WINGATE project. And I'm Beatrix Bedde. I'm the co-founder of Impact Hub, and I would like to be the moderator this time and moderating our three speakers. Let me introduce you Rita Anson from Norway as the representative of Women Investment Network. Hi, Rita.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, then our next speaker or panel member is Emilia Mamajová from Eszter Investments from Czech Republic.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, good afternoon. I see you here, but I don't see, yes, Rita, and good, okay. Emilia, and the third panel member will be Alexander Bielic from we can have him.
Hi, how are you doing, guys?
Hi, hi. Thank you for coming and thank you for joining our panel. I'm offline here with some participants in Budapest, and I hope that you listen that we are going to speak about investment and innovation support case studies with our support. But my first request would be that could you please introduce yourself briefly, your organization, so and also about what is the one thing that people should know about your organization and your work. So if you meet anyone and we haven't met before, what would you say? What is the first thing that you would like someone to know about your organization? So let's start with Rita Anson from Norway, Women Investment Network.
Thank you very much for the introduction and the suggestion of how to introduce ourselves. So as we said, Women Investors Network is an initiative that empowers women to strengthen their financial position by learning how to invest in startups, how to be a part of the innovation ecosystem, and by investing together. Why WIN is doing this? Because we have understood that we need to lower the barriers that hinder women participation in direct investments, because we have three different things that we lack of even in Scandinavian societies, as is Norway. One is women, sometimes they have lack of knowledge when it comes to investment in startups. The second thing is that we have a lack of role models when it comes also to investing in the innovation ecosystem. And the third is we lack of an arena of individuals equal than us that are investing in the same type of investment opportunities. And that's why WIN was created in Norway.
Sorry, Rita, could you please repeat the third one? The lack of us, or the lack of entities or organizations you are? Is that? Sorry,
No, it's the lack of networks. The lack of networks. Yeah,
lack of networks.
Yeah, where women can meet.
Yes.
And invest together. Yeah, exactly. So that's why WIN was created, even in a society that theoretically should be so advanced as is the Norwegian one, when it comes to the ceiling glass on the different, for example, salary gap or inequality. So even in a society like this, WIN is an initiative that is necessary.
Thank you so much, Rita. I put down the 3 points and we come back to it: the lack of knowledge, lack of role models, and lack of networks. Thank you so much. Let's hear Amelia. Amelia or Alexandre? Okay. Amelia, I was told that we should go into order to put you in on the network or on online. So Amelia.
Okay. So I'm a co-founder of Espira Investments, which is a private equity fund based in Prague and investing in Central and Eastern European small and medium-sized enterprises. What's actually very interesting for this audience is that one part of our investment strategy is focusing on companies that have gender diverse leadership teams, which means that it's either company owned or co-owned by a woman, or there are women represented in the top management of the company. The reason we decided to define this strategy for our fund was because we saw a huge gap in the market back in 2015 when this idea came up, and I started exploring and doing market research to see whether this really makes sense and whether there's enough companies that would fit this strategy. And it turned out there are enough companies, especially in the SME segment. So the reasons why we started was the gap in the market. These entrepreneurs often don't know how to raise capital. As it was mentioned by Rita, they don't have network of investors or any network that would be relevant for this for them. So we want to go towards the women and explain to them how it works to get an investor on board, what they can gain, how they can grow their business. So this is from the perspective of access to finance for women. And for the investors, the pitch was that there are a lot of companies that they don't know that are out there in the market that could be interesting investments. And because of lack of networks, these companies are not even discovered by M&A advisors, because quite often M&A advisors are also primarily men. So the network effect works in the same way, that the companies that are intermediated by these M&A advisors are usually companies owned or ran by men. So we thought if we are in the women's circles, we can source different deal flow than the men investors, which is the case, and that was a differentiation of our fund versus other funds for the investors looking to invest in something different that brings them different opportunities.
Excellent, thank you. So you've been working on your investment strategy and working on with your gender diverse projects and companies and leads for 6 years now, if I calculate well. Yes, starting from 2000.
That's when the idea came up.
The idea came up in 2015.
Yeah, the first closing of the fund took place in December 2017. So it's been 4 years now.
Okay, all right, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, and last but least, Alexander Bialic. I hope that I pronounce your name correct, and director of Seven in Serbia.
You pronounced it perfectly. Very well. Thank you. Like you're
Thank you
living
so
in Serbia
much.
for the last 10 years. Anyhow, so the Serbian Venture Network, or the short Seven, is, let's call it a platform which tries to connect the entrepreneurs with investors. We started almost a decade ago in 2012 when there was no platform or pitching competition or anything happening in this part of the world. And so far we succeeded. As you said, what would be the one thing to say? The World Bank has conducted a study 2 years ago, just before the COVID, and the Belgrade Venture Forum, which is our flagship event, has been pronounced one of the top 3 platforms for connecting and supporting entrepreneurship. What that means, during these last 9 years, we brought more than 1,000 investors across the whole globe to Serbia, because it's a regional event, connecting on average 25 countries, only English-speaking platforms. So we don't speak in local languages. It's only English-speaking, because what we saw in 2012 was the lack, as Rita said in the beginning, the lack of connections, the lack of networks. And in order to increase the level of ecosystem, or to grow the ecosystem, we had to bring outsiders. We have to bring people from those ecosystems who are already fully developed. So in 2012, we started with this. At that time, that was I don't know, we had to bring like 40 investors from across the globe, spend a huge amounts of money to bring them. But what is good, since 2013, all the investors are coming freely. So we have investors coming from US, from UK, from Asia. This year, we even had a online investment session, and approximately around 130 companies apply each year, ranging from 25,000 up to 5 million euros investments. And we are proud to say that we have more than 20 startups in these 10 years who received significant investment, and some of them were even pronounced as a top 10 companies, let's say, by the mayor of UK in 2018, Strawberry Tree. They were pronounced as a top 10 companies that will transform UK economy, and they were coming from this region. So not necessarily from Serbia, from the region itself. And why was this important? Because in order for us to help women entrepreneurship, we first had to grow the platform and the ecosystem. Since 2014, Seven is strongly supporting women entrepreneurship, and we even have dedicated parts of the agenda. We have dedicated mentorship. We are connected with the partners across the region who are supporting purely women entrepreneurship, because we see that this is something that is important to grow. And we believe this is the right path to go.
Excellent. So let me just summarize and if I understood well. So 9 years, 20 invested companies, if I'm right, and out of the 20,
more than 20 invested companies.
More than 20?
20 are those that we say that are really succeeded, that were accepted in the approximately on the yearly level. We have from 5 to 7 investments. What we see is 20 are those who truly succeeded in, let's say, Y Combinator, 500 startup combinators, UK investments, so all across the globe.
Excellent. And out of that, since 2014, you had 7 strong women startups, entrepreneurs.
No, we have 7 has dedicated its support to women entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay.
I will tell you briefly in a simple example. So in 2016, we had a complete online and offline hybrid educational model, where we went to universities to educate mainly at that point women to start their own startups. Since then, we have 2 or 3 startups that grow from idea. So the first part was education about how to even start your idea. Then the second was how to form a team and how to develop. And now we have 2 or 3 startups actively working in Serbia, starting from the 7 programs. And some of them are now taking majority in the place, like Uradi Zaradi, which is purely women-led entrepreneurship startup, where they are now taking major of the share space in this part of the industry.
Good, excellent. Thank you so much. So we have 3 speakers in the panel, and if I can just sum it up very much, then we could hear Rita strengthening the financial funding of women entrepreneurs, as well as how to invest in women startups and to lower the barriers. And we don't forget the three differences that you realize: the lack of knowledge, the lack of role models, and the lack of networks. And we have Amelia from Aspira, who is, they are setting up the investment strategy in, as there was a huge gap in the market since 2017, and realizing and getting the gender diversity leads and women representatives in their investment strategy, and also that the access to finance for women, as well as the lack of network of companies. So there are common areas that you mentioned. And then Alexander is coming with the platform, especially for startups and investments, to connect the investor and the investee. Now, my next question would be just a little bit of more understanding, because what we have here as our panel topic is innovation supports case studies with the support of investors and this project. So could you pick up some examples of good investments that we could learn of, that you can sum up shortly about some case studies? Of course, it could be a successful or even a failure, as we know all that we learn from failures as well. So, Rita, could you please?
Yeah, of course. I was thinking, in fact, about that when the other speakers were talking, because this is a very good way to understand how women, once they are empowered, they really have the need and they really have the willingness to invest. So in our case, just a couple of numbers, we had during the last year 2 training programs in which 87 women took part, okay? Only during the first one, and when we were in the middle of the program, that means that these women, perhaps they were not yet totally empowered to be ready to invest, we had an opportunity of investment in a case that is very specific. It's a whiskey and gin distillery in a small island in the southwest of Norway. This company, name is Feddy Distillery, is owned by women, so all the board and all the managing direction is women.
Interesting.
And, yeah, it's very interesting actually, because it's also whiskey and gin, you know.
Yes.
That is a very male-dominated thing, and they accept only women as an investors of the initiative. 50% of the women that were taking the first training program invested, with a total of 200,000 euro in a syndicated investment from Women Investors Network. That means that when we say women have a lack of knowledge, yes, of course, and that's why they were taking the training program, but what they were missing in the reality is a cool initiative. And when I say a cool initiative, means, of course, initiative that can give you a profit, and that's why you invest, of course, but also an initiative in which you empower others, or you feel empowered. Why? Because all this company, Feddy Distillery, is around the female investment or the female entrepreneurship development. So I think that this is perhaps not the best success case, because it's everything around women, but it's a very good example about how women get inspired by other women, both as entrepreneurs and both as investors.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Let me add to it that we just had a panel before, and that's what I said as well, that I do believe, and also as I'm the co-founder of Impact Hub Budapest, we do have programs for Women Academy for Women Entrepreneurs. And we have 30 women. This is the first year that we are working with them, but we see that they so much learn from each other, as well as get inspired and get motivated. And also, I do believe if and we had investor sections when we invited investors, angel investors, they also felt the same, like, understanding each other much more, like a female entrepreneur and a female investor or angel investor. Excellent, thank you. A nice project, whiskey and gin distillery. I would never ever thought that it would be run only by women, and also that they wanted only women investors. So that's nice.
Yeah,
and also
and if I can add, not only
yes,
that,
please.
this week they have launched a new initiative that is young women investing. It has been launched in Bergen, that is the city that is closest to Fede Distillery, and it's about empowering women between 20 and 25 years old on how to invest through this example of female investors and female entrepreneurship project.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much. Emilia, back to the question, best practices or innovation, or even you could give us some examples or even more of what you experienced.
Mm-hmm. So best practice, I would say what we really try to achieve is, even if we meet an entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur who doesn't become our investee company because of different reasons, we always try to help them either through network or through giving them some feedback that we have regarding their business plan, their team, whatever we can help them, so that the time they spend with us, it's not wasted if they don't raise the money. And we really see the great feedback from that, because then they refer us to their friends or to other people, sometimes men entrepreneurs, just because they had this good experience, and they thank us for kind of the discussions and the time we spend with them. So this is really rewarding, because in private equity, it's a different dynamics than in VC. In VC, you can do as a fund, 10, 20 investments per year. But in private equity, usually you do 1, 2, 3 deals in a small team like us. So you see 100, 200 companies per year. There's a large volume of companies you reject. And when you look at it as a total waste of time, then you feel like most of your time you're actually doing something that's not leading to any results. But having that approach that we have, that we want to be really value add kind of a business partner for these people, and we really spend time. Sometimes maybe it's time consuming, but it really pays off, and it really is a great feeling when they come back and say, yes, this was a great advice. I give you one example. We had a lady who was in the educational business, and she was offering some services to corporate customers. And for 10 years, she kept the same prices for those customers, because obviously her business was a very small fraction of this large corporate. And we told her, like, look, you are completely undervaluing yourself. This is a large corporation. They value your service a lot. And they would definitely be willing to pay much more. But she was afraid to go to them and ask for the increase. And she operated with a very low margin. And after having multiple discussions, when she argued with 10 different reasons why she cannot do it, she eventually went and did it. And then she sent us an email and call, like, very excited, like they didn't even question it, they just accepted it. And I'm like, you should have done it years ago, And this is sometimes I think women lack confidence in the service they offer or the value add they have. So they are afraid to ask for a raise in the salary, I think, for increase of their prices. I think what they need a lot, and we see that, and that's part of our mission, is to give them courage, and encourage them in their everyday, basically, work, to have higher ambitions quite often, because they know they can do more, but they are not confident, or they need to hear from somebody external, yes, you can do it, because they feel it, but they just don't don't go for it. So I think this is a big part of our everyday job. And we see it also in one portfolio company where, for example, one business we invested in, there was no entrepreneur running it. It was a management buyout. We bought it out of a large corporate owner. And the lady who's been running the business for 16 years is a great manager, but she was never asked to have a vision for the business or what is the strategy. So they kind of existed based on what their owners told them to do. And all of a sudden they are owned by private equity, not a corporate, and they are supposed to define their strategy, where they go. And they really struggled with it because they always told us, you tell us. And I was like, we cannot tell you who you are and where you're going. Like, we can support you, but you know the best what your unique proposition is. And it took us a time to define it and find out exactly. And once they understood, the whole team, they are just really on such a growth trajectory. I see the whole atmosphere and energy in the organization changed. And this woman who's running this business, who was almost ready to step down and wanted to exit at the time when we were investing, now she's fully committed. She wants to run the business for at least 3 more years. So I think helping her to get more into that entrepreneurial thinking, which was not her nature, and she's over 50 years old. She's been running this business in kind of more or less the same way for many years. So it's not easy to change the mindset, but being open-minded and having that push from our side, I think, was very transformational for her. And now as a result of the whole organization, I would say.
Thank you so much. You also resonate to what I said before, is that we need to improve their self-esteem, and the saying that yes, you can do it. They need to believe it, and they more often believe it if other people around them, women and you supporting and acknowledging that this is what is needed, what you do. Just you need to understand and acknowledge what you do. Just wonder if a question, how much have you funded that Portugal business? Or you said funded, yes, invested in the woman? No, in this. No, it wasn't Portugal. I'm sorry, then I misunderstood it.
We invest in Central Europe. We've invested so far in 3 companies. One we exited recently, and we are in the process of finalizing the 4th investment of the fund. And, the one that you're referring to, that's a Czech company. It's a contact center in Czech Republic. The one where the management had to turn into entrepreneurs.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Amelia. And let's go to Alexander.
Well, as I mentioned in the opening statement, one of the startups that we really support, and let's say it's a fully woman-led entrepreneurs. And basically what they created is a platform where you can choose and you can ask for somebody to do some small task. It can be either household work, or it can be, I don't know, you need some manual labor or whatever. And this was the first time something like this developed in Serbia, and they had huge concerns. Will this be possible? What about if there are female entrepreneurs? They're not hard IT tech persons, and how they will connect to this. And I have to say, with the support and training, we started from the idea, and then we spent around 8 weeks with them, teaching them about how to develop further idea, how to promote it further. And then we continue with the additional academy, and we help them find the team, and we help them how to set up everything. And now they're one of the most successful companies, I said, because what they were offering for the first time, they were offering not just a sense of easiness to be able to easily find the service you need. They offered you a sense of trust, because this platform offers you ability that you can hire somebody, they can come to your house, they can come and do some small jobs that you don't have time or you don't have knowledge or skills. But on one side, what they did, they had a huge impact on the ecosystem itself, because some of the primary or the first, let's say, people who came to the platform to offer the services were the females of the Serbia. So basically, it's not just that this startup created the ecosystem for themselves, they created ecosystems for different females in Serbia who could now openly offer their services, not being afraid or shy or intimidated, how will I offer my services? You're right. So basically what they did with their personal example, they help around, I think, 100 women offering different services, either with some small support in the house, or they take care the day caring of the babies, or whatever service you need. Of course, there are some other labors that you can ask. You can ask for a replacement from the plumber or whatever, but we see a number of jobs being offered increased. And what I really liked, for the first time, they offered a platform where a lot of ladies could come apply for a part-time job. They can do something, or they can prepare something for you. And it had a huge impact because now we use them as a role model. The important part is what Rita said in the beginning. It was really hard to start promoting women entrepreneurship if you don't have role models within the country itself. We could bring the foreign role models, which we did in the beginning, but you know, majority of people would say, that's something in the States that can happen. It will never work in our countries. And now with these startups, we start like rolling. I'm really happy to see that more and more women entrepreneurship in the past few years are developing and offering their services. And one part of the success stories is a government, for sure. In Serbia, we see a government a lot supporting women entrepreneurship, and we see a lot of either funds or either different, let's say, programs which are offering support to startups or innovation companies. They are now adding the part where they says that at least certain part of the startups have to have gender-based or gender diversify ownership, which is really supporting. We see now women entrepreneurship entering into producing the toys in the STEAM education. We see some of them entering and supporting. Actually, even in the government of Serbia is just now adopting the strategy for development of the startup ecosystem and entrepreneurship ecosystem. And one part of the strategy in the action plan is supporting the female-led ecosystem. And this all started by having one startup from idea, promoting it, and then including other females inside of the ecosystem. That's one really, really successful case study that we should talk about.
Excellent, excellent. Let me continue with you, just to break a little bit the rule and be with you, and then we go to Rita and Amelia. Just about the fund sizes. If you could just give a brief that, for example, this role model who became a role model. So how much money is needed for the women entrepreneurs? So how can we, and which stage are they? So are they already invested by, or this is the zero investment, the first investment that they get from you? Could you just brief us a little bit, like with the numbers?
Okay, so since at least in this part of the world, the ecosystem is still growing and developing, right? The ticket size or investment size for starting a business are quite small. I mean, if you compare to the regular US market or something else, it's really small. If you say about tickets from 25,000 euros as an initial pre-seed investment, it's not something that the business angels can collect among themselves and invest as a support, right? Now we see more and more companies are growing and requiring even more money. So we see the companies are requesting from 100,000 and 500,000, or we have one startup, it's again woman-led, which came from US to Serbia and received around 700,000 investment as a pre-round one investment, right? So basically this is something that we are talking about. You can start with even a small money, because once you have idea and you need to validate, 25,000 up to 550 is more than enough to start.
Excellent. And one thing that I really would like to highlight what you said, and what I do believe, that we really need the role models in the country itself. So if there's another, we would like to have another role model in another country, then of course everyone is saying, okay, the different situation, a different country, different legal structure, blah, blah. So there are a lot of excuses. But if someone is a role model in its own country, then that's the real role model of for a woman. So, and I envy you for the government support, and I do believe that Hungary will also learn about last autumn, I was very much hoping that we will have a fund supporting women, female entrepreneurs as well. We have an award, the High Ventures Her, which is of course governmental entity. But honestly, I cannot give you any other big support. Hope that the strategy will also come soon this year. And regarding the ticket size, what you says like 25,000 euro, that's like an average. Is it like an average size or?
No, that's an initial investment size.
That's an initial,
idea.
Okay.
I think that the average size should be around 100, 200,000 euros, but for something that already shows traction and shows already some promising. And in Serbia, we have a different fund supported by government where you can receive a grant. So it's not an equity investment. You don't give equity for this. It's basically equity-free donation. It's up to 19,000 euros. So 90.
Yes.
And this is something happening once a year, but this is not specifically targeted for the women entrepreneurship. It's basically targeted to the innovative companies.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex. Yes. Let's turn to Rita with the same question that I just raised to Alex. What are the actual funds that you are giving, or do you give funds to the women as investment network? You are providing the investment network, or do you have a fund, and how big is the fund? And what is the average fund that you give for women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so Women Investors Network is not focused on that type of services. In Norway, the services to provide finance or to provide advice to financing is very, very, let's say, strict. So our initiative provides training on how to invest, access to a deal flow of startups, but we cannot provide direct advice or direct, suggestion to our women to invest in specific opportunities. We can inform, but we cannot provide the investment opportunities. For that, you need a specific license as professional investor. And this is something that we put on the table recently when talking with different stakeholders on the investment ecosystem in Norway, because there was a very good opportunity to invest all together in a fund that one of the most important incubators in Norway put out with climate solutions. And all our women were super interested, and we went to a couple of informative sessions, and what happened is that in the end, we were not allowed to invest. Because if you are not a professional investor registered, you don't have access to invest in some type of funds. And then we said to several stakeholders, this should be changed, talking with the policymakers, because one of the, let's say, main things that we should have to be able to put more women into investment is to have access to this type of funds, even if you are not a professional investor, even if you are just a business angel that is not investing in a specific amount per year. So we are working more towards the, as I said, training, more towards providing a deal flow of startups, and also more towards trying to influence the stakeholders in the ecosystem towards a more inclusive, let's say, landscape in which more women can invest and in which some strict rules for investment can be lowered.
Yeah, I remember you said 2 training programs and 7 women. Is it 7 women per training programs, or altogether 7 women? And like in a year, how many women entrepreneurs do you provide the training programs?
So to the training programs, normally we have around 25, 30 women that are investors in training. And to these women, we provide, during the training program, access at least to 5 startups in which they can invest. And then we have monthly or bi-monthly events in which we present 2-3 opportunity of investment startups to the network of women that are, of course, the members that, let's say, are members of Women Investors Network, and also the participants in our program that automatically are part of the network.
Rita, do you have any follow-up of the 25? How many of those 25 trained got investment? Or do you know, I fully understand that you cannot advise, you give the information and of course the access to finance, and you train them. But do you have a follow-up of how effective your work is?
Yeah, the women that have been participating in our training programs on how to invest, they are part of our network. So of course they are part also of the syndicated investments. So we know how much they are investing every time that we put out an opportunity of investment. And sincerely, as we were saying before, only in the first program to have an investment of 200,000 euro in 3 different startups, it has been seen like we have tackle what it was needed in the ecosystem.
Excellent. Thank you so much. In Impact Hub Vienna, and just to also link to what you just said, Impact Hub Vienna and Impact Hub Budapest, we've had an investment readiness program. This is also a program where we had like a warm-up day, 1 day training on basic information. We were also just giving information. And then out of 12 participants, we could work with 12 participants. We selected 3 to take part in the mentoring session. It's a pity that last year it was stopped due to COVID and we couldn't follow on the online, but we are willing to do it also investment readiness. And Emilia, back to you. So what you said is that you have that changed the mindset, and you said 3 companies that you invested, and the 4th is coming. What are the ticket sizes, and how much your fund is? How big is your fund, and how much you funded? And do you follow? Do you have any follow up on your investees?
So the fund is around 18 million euros, and we that
18, yes, 18.
Yeah. So
okay.
It's defining actually the size of investments that we do. So our tickets are generally 1 to 3 million euro equity ticket per an investment. So this is not in the space of a VC. As I said, we are more growth private equity fund. We have 3 companies where we invested roughly in that range in each of them. One we exited, it was an educational business, which was a really good return for us. So that is out of the portfolio. One that is coming in is actually a slightly bigger investment than we can do on our own as a fund. So what we have done, we put together a group of individual co-investors. And that's quite an innovation in our kind of model, because we never co-invested with individuals before. And what's
so you co-invested with I'm sorry, just to clarify it. So you co-invested with an investor who is a private person and not an entity.
Yeah, well, we haven't invested yet. That's the deal that's hopefully happening soon.
Oh, okay.
And we will be having almost or around 10 co-investors as private investors, and all of them are ladies. And part of that is that they are also some of them not really experienced with investments. So this is for them a way to invest along the fund and learn how these type of investments are done, how we evaluate the company, how the process looks like, etc. So they are all like successful business women. And some have experience investing, some have 0. So this is also kind of a nice angle to the transaction that while doing the investment, we are able to educate a little bit women in how to invest. What's also a nice part of it is that one of the co-investors is a Czech entrepreneur whom we targeted maybe 3 years ago as a potential investment for our fund. And because her business is very profitable and cash generative, she didn't need any gross capital to expand. She really enjoyed our conversation, and she said, I would love to do something with you, but I really don't need capital because I by myself need to find how to invest this money that I have. And now when this opportunity came up, I approached her and asked her if she would be interested to co-invest. And she said very quickly yes, which is a nice kind of a proof of having this relationship building over the time, that she really trusts the way we work and trusts us that we will, manage well her money, because we will be representing all investors in this investment. So this turned around a little bit because we wanted to give money to her, and now she's giving money to us to do this deal. So this is also a part of the ecosystem evolution, I would say, that comes out of the cooperation with these women in business.
Excellent. A very nice case from an investee, how you become an investor. You mentioned education sector. I'm eager to know about the sectors. So in what sector? You have the 3 cases already funded and the 4th, which is the education here, yes? If I'm right.
The one we exited was in education. It was American.
That was exited,
It was exited. It was operating private schools of American kind of system in Czech Republic, Slovakia, and opening in Zagreb last September. So this plus they had an agency which sends students to study abroad, and they also do school fairs for American and Canadian, UK and Swiss universities. So this has been exited, and we still have 2 companies that are B2B services. One is a contact center based in Prague, servicing customers globally, US listed companies, and focusing on account management and inside sales for companies in different sectors, but quite a lot in technology and software business. And then we have a Polish company, which is Suma Lingua Technologies, and this one is doing services in data language kind of translation, localization services, and data language services. Operating globally, because the capital we invested was used to acquire a company in Canada and in the US. So it became a global business with Polish, Scandinavian, Indian offices. And the one we are in the process of making, I will not disclose at this point. Happy to talk about it when we meet next time, but it's in Czech Republic, and it will be in the healthcare space.
Healthcare supply. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, so we've had tech as well as education and healthcare supply sector. Excellent. Thank you so much. On your website, I love the saying that you actually what you do is that you plan to embark the entrepreneurs on this journey, and a tailor made for every business, and this is probably one of the key that you tailor made these fundings and for their needs. So that's also one of the success factors. I don't know whether you probably because it's on your website, so it's your motto that you tailor made these funds for them and for their needs. Excellent.
It's not. Obviously for everybody, every deal is very kind of unique for what it takes. But I think what we see ourselves as being differentiated, and partially it's related to like being 2 women co-founders, but partially it's, I think, just having a different approach that we call it like making finance human, so that we make it because the small entrepreneurs, they quite often feel intimidated by all this investment jargon. They don't understand it. They've never done a business plan, so they don't feel very comfortable having these conversations with investors because they feel not adequate, and we try to make it like easy for them, so we explain basic things so they feel comfortable to ask questions. We try to really explain everything in very simple words, so they feel comfortable in going through that process. And I think this brings us also purely male-run and male-owned companies just because of that approach,
Excellent. Thank you so much. We need to close, so I would like to have my last brief questions, and this is always about, and I would turn to Rita. That what recommendations would you have for Hungarian? For us, for Hungarian women business angels, how to attract other women business angels, and what kind of women businesses do you recommend to actually fund? If there's any, I don't know whether you can answer either the question. So what recommendations would you give in order to attract more women business angels in Hungary?
Yeah, in Hungary, yeah. Of course, we are talking about two very different cultures when we talk about Norway and Hungary, but you should know that the two founders of Women Investors Network Norway is myself. I'm Spanish originally. And my business partner and founder, Angela Holter, is Colombian originally. That means that it's not exactly that in Norway we have an exact science on how to attract business women. I think it's a more international mindset. So when it comes to how to do it in Hungary or how to do it in Norway, I think it's very similar, because it doesn't depend only on the society and how the society is organized, but it's almost most dependent on how the initiatives like a WIN or like your initiative in Hungary is bringing, let's say, that empowerment to the women, and how your initiative uses the efforts on inspiring that women in your country. So many people, you know, and this project that you are managing is funded by Norway grants. That means that you have an Norwegian partner that is Kvinner Business, that is one of our collaborators also. We bring, of course, from Norway part of the knowledge on how to do this better in Hungary. But guys, you have the key in your hands. That means train more women, inspire more women in Hungary. Try to make this more like normalize the investment thing, because many women is like, no, I'm not an investor, but you're saving money every month, isn't it? Yeah, I'm saving, but I'm not investing because, you know, this is not for me. This is the thing that we need to work with. We women, we save a lot of money, but we don't feel enough inspired or enough, as we were saying before, trained, or with enough other women that are doing to use our money to produce more money. So I would say to your question, just in one word, inspire more women. That's
excellent. Thank you so much, Rita, being with you. Let's listen to Emilia, Czech Republic. As you are actually working, and as what we understood is international companies like Polish and US listed companies. So Emilia?
I would say like these role models, lack of role models is, I think, universal. And what I see in Czech Republic, and I don't know the case in Hungary, is you have few women who like to promote themselves, and these few women are everywhere. And then you see a lot of other great women that nobody knows of, because they are just not naturally inclined to talk about themselves. And unless somebody really encourages them or discovers them, they are never gonna be known, you know. And I think this is I would say that what everybody can do on a daily basis, if you see a woman in your circle, whether it's personal or work-wise, whatever, you should promote these women, give them encouragement on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be the best entrepreneur of the year. It's just any women you see in your circle, just make it a mission, like once a week you have to find somebody at least who you can like give that courage, and this woman can go out there and do amazing things if she has that support, or there's somebody to tell her that she's great, you know. Because I think I've seen so many cases of successful women and somebody else takes credit for their work, they don't go out and promote themselves, and journalists never know about them. They always pick those that are on the surface, that are like easily reachable, and it's like frustrating, you know.
I know. I think all of us know what you're talking about.
Yeah, especially looking at what you see in Forbes, it's like over and over and over. It's always the same women, you know. It looks like there's only these 30 women in the whole country and nobody else.
Thank you so much. And I love that we have a man in the panel that, and I really appreciate that you are here with us, Alexander, and probably that you are fond of women, because that's why you are the director of the Serbian Venture Network. So what would be your recommendations? Because it seems that you are really doing a lot and really doing really good results and excellent back in these 9 years. So what would be your recommendations? Because this is what we would like to learn from other. We know that we have the power in our hand with our programs, with WINGATE, with our the EEA Norway grants, as well as the V4 support. But also we set up a network. But what else would you and inspire and get that what we already learned from Rita, as well as the role models and encouragement and self-esteem. So what would you say?
Well, the first thing is the reason I'm here with you, because it's a camera, right? We have a lot of program managers within the 7 who are females. And if this was fully in-person event, they would be there sitting beside you. The only reason why they let me go on camera, because they say that camera doesn't like how they look. Otherwise, they would be there. So it seems that I have opportunity to join with you and share our thoughts as a 7, just because it's a camera, because I'm not affected how I look like. Although I'm pretty much sure those 2 ladies who are leading our programs look much better than I do on the cameras, but still. Anyhow, maybe that's one of the topics that we should discuss. So one side is of money and one side is, as we said, lack of role models. But the other side is self-confidence. That's definitely something that we need to encourage female entrepreneurs, and we need to encourage their self-independence, and as we said, financial education, everything else. And the second part, which is really important for me at least, is that we share the network, because at a certain point, the entrepreneurs, and not just female entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs as such, and then with female entrepreneurs, you add even more, like 20% on, as Rita said, they are scared, or they think that they don't have a network good enough for them to start a business. Or where will I find the clients? Where will I find the customers? Where will I find the investors and everything else? And I think that one of the really important learnings is spreading the networks and interconnecting it. This is why I think that WINGATE project, as you mentioned, and as Rita mentioned, supported by Norwegian grants, is a really important thing, because sometimes for a female entrepreneur starting in small town, let's call it Subotica, it's really hard to find investor. But it's not that hard to find because she's a female investor. It's because in Subotica, it's for everybody hard to find. But if you have this interconnection and intra-country and intra-regional cooperation, and we know that in Subotica, let's say 50% of people speaks Hungarian, we can help those lady investors to be even faster to support, that she can start offering services to Hungary, or that she can accept services from certain female investors from Hungary or from Romania or from the region. And this is something I think that we should truly support. So besides learning and role models that we need to help and grow, we can share the good stories. I know that WINGATE is now promoting very successful stories about female entrepreneurs across the region. This is something we need to do. We need to help those female entrepreneurs, to help them define the market, not just within their country and within their city, but across the region. I think this would be one very, very beneficial, I would call it a service, but I think a way of doing business that we could really support. And I think this is the true power where it lies in.
Excellent. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Alexander, Emilia, and Rita, for being with us here. It's time to close down, and let me just summarize some of the keys that I think we've had a very nice view of a platform, a network, connector, and an investor, as well as a trainer and a smaller fund working with international projects and companies and businesses. But of course, in this last question, we gave and got answers for how can we improve. And I would definitely, money is one thing, but money doesn't solve, the funds and investments do not solve on its own the business. So we need the learning, we need the self-esteem, we need the network as well, and to help them to find the market for the women entrepreneurs. And also, if we as women business angels, we interregionally spread this work and combine our efforts, I'm pretty sure that we would be able to empower women entrepreneurs. And I would like to use this case that I would like to support this vision and this strategy to come up with good solutions. Thank you very much for our panel members. Thank you, and thank you for the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Regards from Oslo. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. I would like to ask those who are live here in present that if you have received the blue post-it, then put down the thing that comes to your mind first, which best represents today's discussions. If you don't have one, I'm going to hand out some post-its to you, and these will be used in the key takeaways part of the event. And Eszter will introduce Teresa for us.
Yeah, I would like to introduce Teresa Hitchings, who is our advisory board member. And before we close, and we will have a closing speech from Innovation Norway. But before that, we will wake you up with a little bit of feedback and discussion. Yes, Teresa? And thank you very much.
Hi, thank you very much. No, that's perfect, no problem. We'll go through them, and I've also got some notes. Hi, let me take this off. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, a huge thank you to the two panels that we've had here today and the guest speakers as well. I'm sure that you have enjoyed it as much as I have today. My name is Teresa Hitchings. I am the Eastern Europe and rest of the world operations executive working for ABB in the electrification part of the business. What does that mean? Basically, it means I run a bunch of factories, 7 in total, with over 6,000 employees across Eastern Europe, Argentina, and India. So I'm going to now, and hopefully I'll be able to read everybody's writing. I'm actually going to go through now and read some of the key takeaways that you individually have found useful on today's meeting. First of all, I'll start with gender diversity makes established companies and startup businesses more profitable and growth more sustainable. But we also need men to help make successful women. That's the first one. I learned about communication, influential skills, business angels. Thank you for the invitation. Got some good comments here, actually. Diversity, women entrepreneurs and women business angels, women's enrollment in the pandemic and women rule in the pandemic, rural area women entrepreneurship and communication, expanding projects and businesses. Women are crucial to innovation, yet only 14% are owned by women in business. A well-equipped woman is an unstoppable force. Yes, she is. It is imperative to utilize the resource of women's value by investing in them. Hang on a second, just give me a moment. Oh, I did read it right. Women are like tea bags. You do not know how strong they are until you put them in hot water. I love that. Afraid to ask. Women are afraid to ask sometimes, and they do need that little bit of a push and the motivation to succeed. Train women to inspire and encourage. I'm nearly there. Think in the ecosystem, give first, learn from examples. Investment is a human business. If I'm talking too quickly, please do let me know and I'll slow down. I'm a Welsh girl, by the way, living in Budapest, so that's where the accent comes from. Women support women. They learn from each other. Let it be inspired by another woman. Role models and networks. We must change the system. Equal access to finance opportunities. Local role models in country, strengthening networks. And that's basically most of your notes there. I apologize if I did miss anything out. I'd also like to share a few of my notes. I promise I'll only be 2 minutes. I'm a big advocate of women supporting women in the business. I've been I'm a woman in a very much man's world, especially since I've joined ABB, which was 6 years ago. Prior to that, I worked for General Electric, and I came from the aviation business where we overhauled aircraft engines. And out of a workforce of 1,900 people 28 years ago, I was one of 26 women. And I was one woman that worked as an apprentice out on the shop floor. So you can imagine, I've been surrounded, by men in all of my career. So a lot of it resonated with me today about women supporting women. So, and we do need to build a community where females instill more confidence in other females as well. So yes, with all of, my thoughts and yours that you've put here, I think it really does sum up very nicely the key takeaways of today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do we have the connection with Norway? Yes, okay. Great. So we will have a speaker from Innovation Norway, Janina,
Lamøy.
Lamøy. Yeah, okay, thank you.
So it sounds like you can hear me. Just let me know if you cannot. Thank you so much for an interesting event and many good ideas and initiatives to strengthen the female representation. They are very much in line with my own thoughts and suggestions. So yeah, my name is Janina Lamøy. I work as a business developer in Innovation Norway. We help and finance Norwegian businesses that want to do innovative projects. Today, I will share a little bit of my thoughts on the importance of female representation. I will start by telling you a story that highlights the value of female investors. Some years ago, a female entrepreneur saw a need for protecting baby carriages when flying airplanes. Carriages often got damaged in airplane transport, and Anne wanted to make sure that didn't happen. Carriages often they are expensive, and you want to be able to use them when you arrive at your destination. Anne therefore had an idea of protecting the pack by putting the carriage in a protective pack while traveling. She pitched this idea to many different older male investors, but no one understood the problem or meant that it was big enough. The entrepreneur Anne did not give up. She knew it had a great potential and that it was a big problem for parents. Eventually, she met a female investor, a mom, and the investor instantly understood the problem and invested in the idea, the entrepreneur, and the company. The product became a huge success and is now bought by a bigger design firm. This story goes to show that sometimes you need diversity to actually understand the customer problem. In the same way, me as a Norwegian, I do not fully understand Chinese culture, like really understand it. Men, for instance, do not understand all the issues of women, and women do not understand all the issues of men. We need diversity on all levels in society to create a society for us all, a society of inclusion. As part of Innovation Norway, I've been so lucky to be part of several initiatives that promote women and diversity. We have an entrepreneurial program for young adults where there have been a specific focus on diversity in the recruiting phase. We are co-organizers of a conference called DIGIT, a digital technology conference primarily for women. This conference aims to inspire women to fund their own companies and to do technical areas of expertise. As part of Innovation Norway, we also have women and diversity financing, targeted financing towards women that want to do innovative projects, especially in rural and district areas. We also hire external expertise to host board competency programs for women. And of course, in our everyday work, we have an overall focus on diversity. When different advisors in Innovation Norway work with businesses, we always focus on how to build a great team. And we make sure to promote diversity because it gives you a better result. More specifically, 15% better economic result with gender representation, and up to 35% better result with multicultural representation. So how can we work with female entrepreneurs and investors? Well, this is an interesting question, and it really all depends on the entrepreneur and the investor. Some people might need support and confidence, like you've mentioned today, and others might actually need to be challenged. I do not believe in one size fits all. I believe in treating people as individuals, whether they are men or women, Norwegian or international, young or old. We need to discover their needs and their competency gaps to give them good advice for what to do next with their ideas and goals. And actually, most women know how to run companies. Families are basically companies. They contain different roles. They have many tasks to be done, much coordination, delegation, and many decisions to make. So probably you already have much of the knowledge you need to build a company or to invest. For those females who actually are entrepreneurs who have funded a non-family company, many will after some years get into investing themselves. This is because they know how important investments are for early companies and they want to contribute by giving back. I believe this is very valuable. Then you get a female investor that has been through building a company, and this is what we call competent capital. What I mean by that is investment money that also comes with knowledge. I believe this is very, very valuable. We need representation on every level in society, and we need women as board members. We need female entrepreneurs, female investors, women as scientists, female leaders, and women that work with innovation. So how can we actually do this? There are many ways of getting to this point, and you've mentioned a lot of great initiatives already. And from my perspective, I think we need to build knowledge and mentor programs to increase competency. We need to promote and build good networks for people to meet, greet, and create solutions together, share their knowledge. We need female-specific funding programs, maybe with a specific focus on rural areas, like mentioned. We need to highlight and lift up those women that have made it, create a culture for celebrating success. We need to increase knowledge about the benefits of diversity, and we need to explain how much diversity actually is the driving force for innovation. So how can we combine this Eastern and Western thinking to promote investments and entrepreneurship? We will always need to consider our own culture and where we live and how we do business and promote change. So some changes will feel hard and very uncomfortable because of our culture, but that does not mean that we should not do them. We're all human beings and we have a lot in common. We want to be motivated, have influence, we want to do a good job and be relevant for other people and create value. And by using some parts of our own culture that promotes this, combined with parts of other cultures that we want more of, this can happen at a faster pace. Also, as an individual, you should surround yourself with people who have the same values as you, people that motivate you and that dare to challenge your hard-coded truths. Specifically, when talking about investments, we need to segregate the long-term and the short-term thinking. When we invest in companies, we should go in with a long-term goal. To invest in a newly started company, for instance, is the same thing as investing in your health. It takes time before you see the yield. If you invest in bigger companies, you will see the economic gains much faster, but your money will probably not mean that much. So you will need to figure out what risk profile is best for you and what's your ultimate goal for investing. Do you want to make a difference or do you want to make money? So this is your task as an investor to figure out. So my closing thoughts are that human beings in general need inspiration, someone to go first, someone to look up to. This might specifically be true for women in profession where there traditionally has not been that many women before. We need to make people feel safe and supported when they do things outside of their comfort zone. And we need to utilize and elevate those women that actually dare, those that take chances. Make sure we let them shine so they can inspire others to do the same. So if you are someone that wants to invest or build your own company, make sure you surround yourself with supporters. Find people that support you, but also find people that's honest with you, those that you can trust. If you're a man with many great female coworkers around you, make sure you let them know and lift them up. Support them and challenge them so they can grow. If you are a policymaker, make sure you create and promote valuable knowledge programs for the underrepresented parties. So for all of you listening, we need you all. We need your competencies, your engagement. We need you to take risks and follow your dreams. We need you to believe in yourselves and others. We need you to invest in the future and build a better world step by step. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for Innovation Norway for the closing speech. It was very educational. Thank you for those who joined via Zoom. Those who are present in the room will get one more announcement. Thank you very much for the donor partners, EA and Visegrad plus International Visegrad Fund for supporting the initiative. Thank you very much for Jaksa Renata, who really worked very hard on pulling this together, and Maria Tuma, I don't see her, but she also worked very hard. Thank you very much.